Today, we're just going to quickly speak about just getting into the new year. It's this one of these cliches to have all these plans for the new year, and we want to eat better. We want to do more physical activity and so on and so forth. And I think that's great. But sometimes we have all these plans and we don't end up following through with them. Something in the world of nutrition that we talk about is actually, speaking of SMART, is SMART goals. And there's all of those letters, SMART, stand for different words, but really two of them that I want to talk about is S is for small and the R is for realistic. And so I want each of us to take a small and realistic goal for the new year, whether it's to go walking an extra block once a week for physical activity, or let's say we have rice every night, maybe one night a week swapping to brown rice or swapping to quinoa or another whole grain. I should add, making a small but realistic change, you will feel good about. And I think that once we feel good about that, then we can make more changes. These baby steps, that's what's going to allow us to make these changes and make them stick, as opposed to just saying, oh, I'm going to go into the new year and only eat this and only eat that and not eat this and not eat that. It ends up not working. So when we make these small, realistic changes, that's what works. And I think that each of us should have one or two of them, maybe one for nutrition and eating and one for physical activity. And maybe if we want one for sleeping, just general wellness, maybe once a week, trying to go to bed a little bit earlier or trying to sleep in a little bit later. That might be a little bit harder because of our natural body clocks. But these small changes, we'll see that it ends up making us feel a lot better.
Today, I'm actually making a recovery soup. Usually people lean towards the chicken soup during the winter, but I wanted to do something a little different for us all and a little change. I'm really happy that I did this because it's delicious. I did make one earlier this morning. I'll show you the results later, but I'm going to just go over exactly what ingredients I have and what I'm using. I'm going to use a little bit of sesame oil just at the bottom of the pan to get it going. If you don't have sesame oil, you can use like an avocado oil or something like that. I recommend this because it really does take it up to that next level. My oil's heating up. I'm just going to go over my ingredients. I have fresh chopped ginger, the scallions. I'm going to put the scallions in first. Then I'm going to use garlic. We have some shiitake mushrooms, something a little different. Like, I don't use these often, but they're actually one of my favorites, but they're not always easy to get hold of. I bought mine yesterday in Trader Joe's. I have bok choy, which I love. I've always loved bok choy, and it's baby bok choy.
I love all of these vegetables.
Yeah, they're perfect. It's a great combination.
They're actually fun. Also, I made a rice noodle, so it's a little bit more filling. This recipe is actually really good for meal prep as well, but just don't put the noodles in, keep the noodles separate, but the broth can stay in the fridge for 2 or 3 days.
I've definitely made that mistake before. The problem is the noodles like that.
If you put your pot in a glass jar and keep these noodles separate, I'm just going to show you that they don't stick together or anything, so you can put them in an airtight like glass container. So they really actually stay nice. They take 6 or 7 minutes. Just follow the directions on the box. So here's some here. This is what they look like. And you'll just follow the directions how to do it on the box. Right. So I'm going to add my garlic and ginger now. Okay, 2 or 3 cloves of garlic. I'm guessing
eyeball it.
A couple of minutes till it's nice and fragrant. The smell is coming up beautiful now. Okay, I'm going to put half a teaspoon of turmeric in there. And I throw mushroom powder. And this is optional, but honestly, it really takes it to that next level. You can use a half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon. I'm just going to use in between. I'm not going to put it in yet. It doesn't tell me to put it in yet. I'm getting carried away. All right, so I'm going to put my shiitake mushrooms in there now. You see they're a little bit more.
They're so cute.
Yeah. No. You can give them a stir fry. So now I'm going to add the broth. You can use 4 cups of vegetable broth. It's vegan or chicken broth, whatever you prefer. All right, so I'm going to put that in there. Put it in there now. Turmeric and a half a teaspoon of mushroom powder, and that actually goes in right now.
Turmeric gives it such a good color too.
Add the carrots. I actually thought, oh, this is weird, because usually you put in the seasonings, but it actually called it for, and I followed the recipe. Sometimes I go a bit off. But,
I see either you do the aromatics thing you start at the beginning or you put them in later on.
So we're going to let that cook, right, for a few minutes. And then right at the end, it tells you to add the stems of the bok choy, but because I bought baby bok choy, I didn't even bother. I just thought I'll put it in all at the same time. I stood the bok choy up, so the stems got like cooked first. So I'll put that in right at the end. Right, when this is all done, the bok choy is in there. You're going to pour it over your noodles.
Make sure you wash your bok choy really well.
Yes.
Oh, very well. Yes, absolutely. You know what? I separate mine. Like I separate and wash it individually. And now also at the end of this, I'm going to add a little bit of soy sauce, some black pepper. I'm not going to put salt in it, honestly, because I thought with the soy sauce, it was salty enough. I'll add salt at the end if it really needs it, but I just put a splash of this and it was perfect. I didn't want to change it. It tasted really good. So why add salt if you don't need to? I'm going to talk about each week a snack to go in the air fryer. This week I made zucchini chips. I made them like potato chips. You can do these with a knife or you can do them with the mandolin. I did mine with the mandolin earlier. With the zucchini chips, I soaked all the water. I put them with a dash of salt. You can see how thin they are. All right.
How long does it take for the water to soak out? How long do you leave it there for?
I left it for half an hour. Now it's a little bit longer, but before I put them in there and a lot of moisture come out, you can see from the paper towel how much. And you know what you do? They do go quick, they do go down small. So you do need to do quite a few. But listen, instead of getting a bag of chips for the night time, or we're in a new year, like making small changes, if you just want to make one small change and do, instead of potato chip, make a zucchini chip. It's healthier. You can have a little bit of Parmesan cheese on it. Make it your own little flavor. You can put vinegar on it, so you can have salt and vinegar, whatever you want.
You can make it yours.
I have a new air fryer. I used a cover before to put it in, but because these are so skinny, this like lifts up a little bit. So I'm just going to put them in and I'll just wash the air fryer after. I put a little bit of salt to draw the water out, and now I'm just going to put a little bit of avocado olive oil spray. Put them in here. You just do one row. You know, we're going to put these in quickly. Now, I put these on 365 and I had it on for 12 minutes. I took them out before it actually finished. So that'll go on there for 12 minutes. Let me show you like how everything looks at the end. My bok choy, I decorated it with a little bit of scallion on top just to give it a little flavor, like the tops of the scallions. I have the water of the week is fresh basil and a sparkling water. Now your snack. We're going to do seasonal fruits, which is a blood orange. Here is my zucchini chips.
Oranges. There's so many delicious oranges in season right now. Oranges and blood oranges. They're so full of vitamin C. And with all of this sickness going around right now, we really want to stock up on that. It was a good reminder. So I am making for you guys today. There's no specific name for it. I'll show you the end, but it's like a winter vegetable bowl with crispy chickpeas, and then I topped it off with some pumpkin seeds because I love adding nutrients where we can, so that has some omega-3 fatty acids, and then some goat cheese for some extra protein. But we are getting some protein from the chickpeas, and it gives it a really nice crunch for this bowl. It's like a roasted vegetable salad. So these are the vegetables I'm using. You can also use tons of other types of vegetables. I'm going to put this all on a tray. So I have sweet potatoes. I took the skin off these just because they weren't getting super clean, but I usually do like to keep the skin on them and just wash them really well because that's where we're getting fiber. And it's also going to help keep it crispier.
Are a great color.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
I also have some carrots on there. I also have some Brussels sprouts, which are just my favorite thing ever. And I have some red onion. You can do some beef. You want to make sure that everything's on a single line so that everything gets cooked nice and evenly. So that's that. Then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chickpeas. You want to make sure they're really dry before you're going to rinse them, obviously. You want to make sure they're super dry. I'm actually going to take a little napkin and dab them because that's how they're going to get crispy. And that's where we want that crispiness in every bite. So that's what we have here. Now I'm going to show you how, instead of just putting olive oil, salt, and pepper, we're going to make a little bit of a more interesting Dijon herby type of dressing to put on this. And then we're going to roast them in the oven at 425. So in my little dressing thing, I have some garlic. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We have 1 clove of garlic. You can do 2. I don't love super garlicky, especially vegetables, so you can add 2. That recipe actually does call for 2, but I just did 1. Then we're gonna do my olive oil. Then we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. So we have our mustard. Then we're gonna do a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, which I always absolutely love. I think it gives things a lot of flavor. So we're gonna do a teaspoon there. Actually, I'm gonna do a teaspoon and a half. Teaspoon of the vinegar, which is gonna give it some really nice acidity. Then we're gonna do a little bit of pepper, tiny bit of pepper. I'm not even gonna add salt because it has enough flavor from the Dijon and everything. We're gonna do some dried thyme. You can use fresh thyme. Whenever you're using dry herbs, you wanna put them into your hand and then you wanna rub it together so you release all those oils. I love using dried herbs when we can. And then the last thing we're gonna do is add in some smoked paprika, which is gonna give it a really nice taste. So about 1/4 of a teaspoon, not a lot, just gives it a little nice smoky taste. Love it. And they
Really good.
and a little bit goes a long way. So now I'm gonna mix all that up. I'm gonna take my gloves, put this down so you guys can see more. And then you may not need all of this marinade. What I do recommend is saving a little bit for the end to put on as a dressing kind of, because that's really what this is. I'm gonna mix this a little bit better. I'm actually gonna end up using this and you can just make some more if you want. I'm gonna put all of this good stuff here. I like this because you're adding a little bit more flavor. It's a little bit different than just making olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder. And it roasts so nicely and it gives such a subtle flavor. That's so nice. And then again, make sure it's all coated. Everything's nicely coated. I'm using a big tray because I want to make sure that everything is in a single line so that
It all gets roasted.
properly caramelized and roasted. And then this is going to go into a 425-degree oven, which I'm just going to pop in for about 20 to 25 minutes. You can mix halfway through. And then this is the final product. I put a little bit of pumpkin seeds and I sprinkled some goat cheese just for a little extra protein there. So good.
It looks delicious.
Some protein from the chickpeas, but I want to add a little bit more. So I did the cheese. You could do feta cheese. You can obviously leave the cheese out. You can even add tofu to this. You can crisp up some. And then the pumpkin seeds, I just love. Anytime I can add omega-3 fatty acids and it works, I like to do it. So this was a really good way to do that.
Yeah. Also, like just talking of adding things as well, you can add miso to this. Here's the soup. It's finished. See, it's so quick, but
so pretty.
The colors are beautiful.
I love that. I love that little bit of yellow that the turmeric gives
it really is nice colors.
Totally the kind of thing you want to eat when you're starting to feel sick anytime. It's the ginger and stuff in there too. That's great.
It's so good.
Like a little immune booster.
Yes.